Worldwide shipping by going to ridgevault.com/UMG. Again, that's ridgevault.com/UMG. And here we go. Grand finals of the Week 8 Legion Sunday Showdown is upon us. It is Dtrix and Rush, the qualifier 2 runner-up team who has made it not just through the qualifier tournament, but has advanced past very difficult opponents to get toward this point. They've taken down prior champions. They took down collegiate teams as well to get to this point, and they want to walk away with some cash. ShawnClaude and Tendons, very well-known players, experienced when it comes down to this format, have won countless amounts of cash on LAN, and they want to prove it here at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Again.
$5,000, baby. Who's going to take $5K and the W? Let's find out. I'm excited. ShawnClaude and Tendons, though, they're not breaking from their normal routine. They're going straight to Tilted. We'll see how that's going to work out for them. I see 2 ahead of ShawnClaude. Tendons got them behind. And, of course, they'll be landing relatively soon. Dtrix and Rush, they're going to be pulling off a strategy we have seen a couple of times throughout this tournament. They're going to be heading to Dusty, which is really increased in popularity, not only amongst my squad, but it seems amongst other players, too, due to the rotation. And this player messed up, all right? You come in, you bring a pickaxe to a gunfight. And if the Bloom wouldn't mess with him too much, he'd be able to get it. There it is. He's finally going to get the knock. And, of course, that only means there's going to be a couple more players there, and they'll be rotating out relatively soon once they get kitted up.
And that's the big question right now for me regarding Rush and Dtrix, is saying, hey, right, we're going to get involved in some eliminations off the break, but we need to be aware of our position on the map, because right now for ShawnClaude and Tendons, they're going to have consistent fights. And after we take down this squad, is it a matter of do we need to rotate quickly? And are ShawnClaude and Tendons, is their luck going to run out? Because they have seen countless amount of success. I mean, I'd probably imagine in every match they've had so far up into this tournament, which they've had 4 rounds, they've probably got to tilt the towers each and every time, and they've continued to see success from it. Like I said, does that luck run out here, or does it only continue to watch them thrive? And that's, like I said, a huge question right now for Dtrix and Rush. When do we leave this area? When do we decide it's no longer advantageous for us to stay in this area around the map? And how can we continue to play off against the aggressiveness that ShawnClaude and Tendons have shown and seen countless bits of success from?
Yep, 100%. We'll have to see. As first victim down below, you're hearing the communication, calling him out just a little bit. Easy. He's going to get that elimination. That's 1 for him.
How many E's and how many Z's?
That was a lot of Z's. Not so many Y's, I would have to say.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
1 player built up in the building just on the other side. You know, Tilted, they work it so incredibly well. And it's just, why not fix what's not broken? And they've managed to come through and just kind of run through it every single time. You know, Tilted is one of those areas, if you can learn to control it and dominate it, you can come out with a considerable number of eliminations, plus your rotations can look pretty solid. And they're doing just that. They've managed to find a system that works, and more power to them.
Definitely the case. We've seen many teams try to perfect the tilt the tower strategy, but you could argue that there has been a team not nearly as successful as these two in ShawnClaude and Tendons right now, as it looks like to the main part of our screen. Just outside toward Bricks. Open up the opportunity. Great edit to fire the rocket through, and now it looks like the engagement is ready. The Deagle, anything possible to try to fire through these builds, and yes, player dropped and his teammate is left at bay just with really a map and a pencil in hand, and he will be erased. Nice shot, though, from the opposing player. I believe it does have that wall as an advantage, so could edit through and take a shot at any moment. How many players are left alive in this team? There happens to be at least 2 aggressing right now, and we'll see whether or not Tendons can stay alive. At least keeps 1 at bay for now, but what an intense moment this is right now in the game, Taylor.
Tendons is doing a phenomenal job at defensively building, not only to save his life, but his partner as well, who dropped down to the bottom. I for sure thought when he opened up the wall and started blasting, those 2 players were going to come in and take him out, but he made the most of it. Comes in, gets the 2 eliminations. That's putting him up to 3. I know there was a player shooting at him from the outside. Now he's going for the res. This is by far one of the biggest plays of the game to keep his team alive. They're both sitting at 6 eliminations to, I believe, the 5 on the left of Dtrix and Rush, who have now rotated out of Dusty and moved into Salty, where they look like they had some success there as well. Good job on both ends from both teams. You notice
Absolutely.
Rush, Dtrix already using balloons. They're getting out of there. Tendons, though, he can't catch a break. He's still in a fight. So is ShawnClaude, but luckily he's got the player from the back, and they're going to finish him off. Great work getting out of that situation. That was incredibly close.
And like we talked about, right, this is great that they're having these elims come at them, but it is not easy, and that's the worrisome part for Dtrix and Rush, because hopefully they can find some players along the way. I believe they have 5 combined right now, but it seems as if for the opposite team in ShawnClaude and Tendons, they're having 4 to 5 players rush them every few minutes. How long can they stay alive, though, is the question. How long can they hold on for? Well, for Dtrix and Rush, like I said, they're just trying to find elims whenever they can. And it looks like they could be taking out a squad, but needs to put up the barriers. That rocket could have been very, very scary. Thankfully, the down comes in, and the elimination will follow through as well. Keeping in mind, those are only knocks, and you hear the call out coming in. Last one's got to be around here somewhere. As that 4th player could be hiding with a sniper, could be hiding around here in the divot, but probably going to be another elim to add toward Dtrix and Rush. Very impressive start, despite landing in a location that maybe isn't always the most crowded. It's kind of hard to tell, right, Taylor? Because
it is.
I feel like in certain games we see Dusty Divot or Dusty Diner be super populated, and there are certain games where you can't find a soul. Nobody's interested in going to the diner that day.
It's just one of those areas that's just one thing is for certain, you'll always get good loot out of it.
For sure, yeah.
But you never know. Like you said, are there going to be players there? I think, but one of the most important aspects of landing Dusty Diner is your rotations out. Salty, retail. You have a couple different ways that you can go, and typically you'll get some, at least some momentum with whether it's balloons or porta rifts. This squad moved in, by the way. They didn't have a plan. And I always say, you got to have a plan before you move in, especially if you're going against a squad such as Dtrix and Rush. They didn't have a plan, and they pay for it, and handily, and that puts them at a considerable amount of eliminations. I believe what Rush has, I don't know, what, 5? Rush has 7, so 7 and 4.
Wow.
What, it's 11 on the left as opposed to the right, which is 8. Still very close race.
That's great, yeah. You can't ask for better than that.
You really couldn't, and they're still in tilted.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? You could argue ShawnClaude and Tendons have had a much more difficult time at finding those 8 than the opposing team has at their 11. And that's not something that's going to happen very often, but something that could be awarded. As like we talked about, Tendons came through with a huge clutch to save his teammate. As he'll take the elevator down to the very first floor of the builds. Happens to be on the flank of not just 1, but 3 players. All no skins. Are they actually talented, or do they have somewhat of a skill? ShawnClaude's making it look like the absolute opposite. Saying, take your time. Here's your opportunity. Tendons goes down, and ShawnClaude, big moment. Needs to keep his teammate alive, especially when it comes down to game number 1, not being in the lead, or at least not having a solid foundation for an advantage. Waiting for his opportunity. Player opens up the door, and you could argue the success could be there. And yes,
plays.
The elim comes in, and what a big moment for ShawnClaude. Keeps his teammate alive, as they have done so for each other, having their backs and staying alive. But like we said, Taylor, it has not been easy for this duo. They have nearly been on the cusp of dying in back-to-back gunfights, yet they remain to see another fight.
I love how, in the beginning, Tendons went down, or excuse me, ShawnClaude went down and Tendons had to save him, and then the roles reversed. Solid duo. Getting out of, Tilted, we've seen them. It's ended many players' tournament lives.
Oh, yeah.
Now, for them, they managed to survive and get out of it with decent loot. They've got mobility. Now that you see the Porter Rift in the hands of Tendons, they're looking solid. They're looking good. But with that being said, they're still trailing behind by a total of 3 eliminations. Dtrix and Rush, you notice the distances they've covered. They're at Leaky Lake now. They started in Dusty, went to Salty, went back to Dusty Diner, got some eliminations there, and now making their way to Leaky Lake. They're going to be cutting off eliminations ShawnClaude and Tendons would have typically if they rotated naturally out of Tilted going towards whether it be Lake. Right now we're seeing an engagement there, whether they go to Leaky Lake. So there's a lot of different areas that's going to be cut off. So I'm worried about future eliminations for ShawnClaude and Tendons if they don't rotate out now.
Definitely. It looks like a Shadowstone player spotted. Tries to take the opportunity. Dtrix misses the shot, but at least has the opportunity and the positives of knowing that the player is just in front of him. Stink bombs get tossed out, not a worry. No damage taken, and out of sight, out of mind. As all 4 players are starting to hound on the same position just outside of Tilted Towers, or where the elims lie. As both teams going back and forth in this game. Lead swapping countlessly. as it looks like it will be Dtrix and Rush who finishes off at least 3, if not 4 players in that situation. That is huge for them. As we've talked about, not entering in toward Tilted Towers. Despite that, they have a lead over a team who literally conquered Tilted. That does not happen very often.
No. Not at all.
Ever, right?
Not at all. Not at all. And it just comes to show how this game is developing over time, right? Tilted's no longer – I mean, it's a decent spot. You're seeing a lot of eliminations come through, but rotations is critical. And if you don't rotate through, you find yourself in a position where you're going to be down, regardless if you went Tilted and came out alive or not. But with that being said, don't let it distract you from the fact that we have a phenomenal game happening here.
Yeah.
We are seeing a ton of eliminations. They are running through this lobby like crazy. And if I was playing in this lobby, I'd be saying, what is going on? Like, everybody's dropping off like flies. But with that being said, they're not slowing down anytime soon. We have a really, really good game. Round, really, it's going to come down to game 2. This game right now, as it is, it's going to come down to a mere couple of eliminations.
Yeah.
And then round 2 is going to decide it all. $5,000 for first place, guys. Just to remind you, $3,000 for second already guaranteed.
A lot of cash on the line, and probably even more than that cash, the bragging rights as well. To call yourself the Legion Sunday Showdown champion, Dtrix spotting players. There's 2 just in front of him. Double kill possibility. And if these players are just knocked, no, okay, elimination's coming. I was going to say, if those players get knocked, there could be even more players to come. Not going to be the case, and you hear the call-out coming in. Players are splitting. Interesting strategy coming in from ShawnClaude and Tendons. We talked about these guys known for their aggressiveness and doing it yet again. And to say that a team went Tilted Towers, survived it, and then later on is splitting, it's crazy to see. It really is. It's insane to see that is the strategy, but that is how fast-paced ShawnClaude and Tendons are. And when it doesn't work out in their favor, they have to continue on that aggression, keep on going toward the next gear, as it looks like right now. An awkward situation for Tendons. Player manages to go toward the top side of that
See
build.
how he navigated that, Landon?
Yeah, phenomenal tracking coming in from Tendons. I don't know if that'll happen again, but what a phenomenal shot coming in, and that's the reason why this team is in the finals.
See, that's the thing about watching a subpar player versus a really good player is just the ability to navigate in that situation, to prioritize your engagements. And he didn't even have high ground at that point. Trap in front of him, backs off it, goes in, picks up the player just up ahead.
Oh, wow.
Of course, the split happening, the confidence. Look at this, though. The defensive builds, the way that he's – I mean, it's just – this is a top quality plays that you love to see, and we are seeing really something special. This is why they were my favorite coming into this tournament, and this is why they continue to be my favorite in these finals.
ShawnClaude, my goodness, putting on a performance, outplaying the opponent countlessly. Black Knight in front of him, not a care in the world. Edits out and makes it look easy. Another knockdown, that's going to be 8. Once that player's fully limbed. Wow.
Yeah.
Just takes them down with literally not a care in the world.
And, of course, Lennon, you remember Friday Fortnite. ShawnClaude and Tendons, they were the team to watch out for in
absolutely.
Our tournaments.
Yeah, they were.
And it's nothing different here. We may be seeing the routine ShawnClaude and Tendons, but for a lot of the viewers who are finally seeing them for the first time, potentially, this is normal for them. This is how they play.
ShawnClaude yet again having players, I believe, just below him. Rocks the Deeg and also finishes him off with the shot. And he's still taking down players who are only knocked, so there are still more players around. And he's going to go ahead and rock out the jump pad, spots another player in front of him, as he has been the all-star toward the end of this game. ShawnClaude Van Dang, what a shot that was. 11 elims is what he finishes off with.
Yep.
And that's what we were talking about, the phenomenal start for Dtrix and Rush. I mean, I don't know what their lead is going to be coming into this game, but it is either –
I don't know if they have a lead anymore.
It might not even be a lead anymore. It might be close. It could be tied.
Yeah.
But ShawnClaude and Tendons absolutely closed the gap, and that was really the ShawnClaude show toward the end of that game. That was phenomenal stuff, showing off his edits, showing off. He was literally facing off against squads countlessly, and it wasn't just a matter of constant 1v1 fights. It was 1v2, 1v3, and just outbuilding, kind of putting him in a certain build and then kind of going at him from there.
Yeah.
Excellent edits and just really an all-star performance coming through from Shawn. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, and I talked about it. Tendons Fortnite career, $166,000 earned, making a little bit more tonight to put it potentially at least at the low end, $169,000, which is just insane to think of. ShawnClaude, he's not made as much money from what I could tell, about $6,000 or so. Of course, it could be a little bit more depending on how it's been updated, but he's not done too bad. 25-20 though, I stand corrected. ShawnClaude and Tendons still with a minor deficit, and I gotta say, I talked a lot about ShawnClaude and Tendons, but this team, Dtrix and Rush, have performed so incredibly well. I mean, we saw the beginning where they went through. I love the rotations, the mobility that they had. From Dusty, went all the way over to Salty, went back to Dusty Diner, and then progressed their way over towards River and then into Tilted. They covered a ton of ground, and that is exactly what you need to do to keep up the pace of the high-intensity play of ShawnClaude and Tendons. They go Tilted. They get a lot of eliminations, but hey, I got it. They get a lot of eliminations, but you know what? Tilted, they got stuck in there. And because they got stuck there, they didn't have the potential to rotate out as early as they may have wanted. They were stuck healing, maybe picking each other up. Not that I'm not downgrading their play whatsoever, but if you get stuck in one location, it limits your ability to be able to pick off more eliminations.
Now the question lies, does ShawnClaude and Tendons continue to go toward Tilted, or do they realize their strategies could be ending? Keeping in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about 20-25. That was a 45 elimination game. Nearly half the lobby was taken out by 4 players. An incredible performance displayed in our first game, and countless aggression being shown as well, as it looks like the Umbrellas and the Gliders will fade in on 2 different locations, one on Salty Springs and I believe one on Dusty Divot. Why not change what worked if you are Dtrix and Rush? But like we said, much different strategy coming in this game number 2 for ShawnClaude and Tendons, only down by 5 eliminations and quickly trying to diminish that as much as possible by these early fights.
Salty Springs, just as hot of a drop as Tilted, if not more at times, but it allows for rotations to come into effect more effectively, I would have to say. I'm sorry, I didn't catch Dtrix Rush. Did they go to the typical?
Dusty,
they went to Dusty, so they're already down there, and they're picking up eliminations themselves. They're sitting at 4 to continue that lead, 4-2. But watch out. Tendons down ShawnClaude as well. That's it. Before we can even get started in the second game, and that's one thing about Salty I want to point out.
Gosh.
Salty's one of those areas, it's in the beginning. We saw a lot of, or at least through Friday Fortnite.
He doesn't even know how to react either.
Yeah, what can he say? That's the W. That early, no more pressure is put on you. You already won, and that's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, moments like that are what make this format so exciting, because literally in an instant,
the RNG,
a game can end. Literally in a moment's notice, a game can go from being, wow, this team's only down by 5, this team's only down by 4, they're looking really good, and it's over.
Yep, the disco ball comes in, and
wow.
Boogie Bomb, it's in.